You wouldn't want to have vertigo up here. Pretty steep fall off. Thank you, Lascan Corla, and just want to say, Minister English, best of luck in your new role. I know you relish a challenge, so I genuinely, sincerely wish you the very, very best of luck in this role, and look forward to working with you. I expected actually that the Taoiseach to be here, and because first time I met the Taoiseach was back in Kinsale prior to the last election, and I actually photobombed him for the purpose of getting a bit of publicity, whatever seemed to have worked. But we were stood in Kinsale on the streets there, and I think it was clear to see what a vibrant town the likes of Kinsale is. Kinsale is part of my constituency, but the success of Kinsale and towns like Kinsale are built on these small and medium-sized enterprises and these micro enterprises, the cafes, the restaurants, these beautiful bookshops and boutiques, and just directly across the road from where we stood, actually, my first cousin has a flower shop, which all of these small businesses are the heartbeat and the backbone of what makes a town like Kinsale work. I think, Minister English, I'm not sure if you've ever visited that neck of the woods, but these are exactly the type of businesses and towns and streets that we are looking to protect here. And when COVID is done and dusted, and when we're finished, we need to be able to go back to the towns like Kinsale and ensure that those businesses that I've just mentioned there, that their doors are still open. I think the microfinance, the Microenterprise Fund will play a vital role in that if we structure it properly and if we administer it properly. And the same could be said, of course, for towns like Bantry, Bandon, Skibbereen, Dunmanway, Skull and Castletownbere. And my own hometown of Clonakilty, I recently opened my constituency office on Ash Street. And Ash Street in Clonakilty is an absolute gem of a street. It's not only picturesque, but the businesses there are very innovative, they're creative, all different types of businesses. And when I did set up office on Ash Street, the first knocks on my door weren't from necessarily constituents who were looking for problems or issues to be addressed. It was from the other neighbouring businesses and the local businesses who were welcoming me to the street, welcoming me with open arms. And that's just, I suppose, demonstrates in all of these towns, in our regional areas, the tight-knit network of businesses and how they all look out for each other and they support each other. That can be said. You've all types of businesses there, as clothes shops, boutiques, retail. I know, Minister, that one of your specific remits will be retail. They're a type of businesses that we really need to look after. We're all shouting about the hospitality, and we need to be shouting about hospitality and restaurants and cafes, but retail plays an important role as well. But they're all looking out for each other, and unfortunately, within a few weeks of setting up my office there, we had one of the first, I suppose, casualties of COVID in terms of businesses, and one of the businesses on the street shut their doors for the last time, and the entire community on Ash Street was heartbroken. They were devastated because they'd become very close community, and they'd seen one of their friends close down. And you can then sense that sense of worry, that sense of concern amongst the businesses on Ash Street. Look, yes, they will bounce back. Yes, somebody else will vacate that premises. I'm absolutely sure of it. But we need to do everything within our remit and within our power to allay their concerns and to make sure that these businesses, the clothes shops, the fashion shops, the boutiques, the cafes, the restaurants, they can keep their doors open, and that they're still there when we return, and when we finally, I suppose, get a vaccine and we can return to some type of normality. What I'm trying to do, I guess, Minister, is something, and I know you're familiar already with it, trying to demonstrate how important these small micro businesses are, micro enterprises that employ less than 10 people. They are the backbone of our community, of our towns, of our streets, such as Ash Street, where I've recently set up. And speaking about hospitality, look, I think it's really important that I do take this time and opportunity to mention hospitality as well. Towns like Kinsale and Clonakilty, they would not have those retail industries if it wasn't for our footfall. And that's where we need to come in strong with our July stimulus the VAT rate, of course, has to be reduced. That's a repeated calls for that, and that's something I just want to reiterate here. The wage subsidy scheme, Minister, has been an absolute lifesaver for these industries. Particularly, I'm talking about for hotels. Okay, perhaps they don't fit into necessarily the micro enterprise category, but I think it's important that we do talk about how important the wage subsidy scheme has been. In order for them to keep going, they wouldn't. I was talking to a hotelier this morning. Simply would not be have their doors open if it wasn't for the wage subsidy scheme. We need to extend that, and we need to be preparing, unfortunately, for the potential of a second wave, so that we just don't leave businesses high and dry. That we're actually prepared and in a position to extend wage subsidy schemes if there is a second wave. And just on that, because those bigger industries, they would have to apply for something like the working capital loan. Similar to the micro enterprise fund, there is great difficulty, and businesses are finding it hard, I suppose, to stomach and to swallow the fact that they're dealing with 4 or 5% interest rate when they know that in Europe and internationally we're looking at 0 or negative interest loans. We need to pass that 0 interest rate that we're able to avail of onto the SME. We really need to do it, and I would like to ask Minister if there's any way that that interest rate can be examined in terms of how this micro-enterprise loan is administered. Farming and fishing also, Minister, it's not just tourism in West Cork, we also have farming and fishing industries which are of vital importance, and they need to be facilitated with this micro-enterprise fund, because I think there's an opportunity for there to get some bit of relief for this. They're obviously facing similar difficulties. I'm going to mention the events sector very briefly, because I'm hoping to get an opportunity to contribute in tomorrow's debate on that. But look, we all love going to gigs. I'm sure in this very room where we're standing here, there's been some of the most incredible, exhilarating gigs and events that we've seen just up the road in the 3 Arena. We've all visited gigs, but it's not just exclusive to Dublin. Again, where I'm from in West Cork is what I would call the second rock and roll capital, I guess, of Ireland, where we have these amazing venues like the Barra's Music Venue. Levis's in Ballyhob in the small village has hosted some of the biggest names in the world, but they're all incredibly nervous. They're on edge. They're not sure what the future holds. They have outline, I guess, many of us has been contacted in relation to a list of wishes and desires that they have, and I might just take an opportunity to read these out so that we can take note of them, because these do fit in to that micro-enterprise bracket of employing less than 10 people. They're looking for the COVID payment and wage subsidy scheme to continue for events and arts workers. I think that's very important, at least until mass gatherings can reconvene, which may be a way off if we're very honest about it. They're looking for business grant support of 20% of the 2018 turnover for SMEs and events and arts sector workers. They're looking for bank loan and lease payment holidays to continue. They're looking for their insurance policies to be re-evaluated, and that's very important, because obviously with events not going ahead, the risk is much lower, so that needs to be re-evaluated. Rent assistance, funding of an industry assistance programme to cater for the mental health and well-being. That's incredibly important. Since this pandemic, the arts community have really come together to look after each other's mental health, but that needs to be funded, and there needs to be a proper funded programme. Reduction of the VAT rate, I think that needs to be seriously considered for arts and events workers. The removal, again, a break for commercial rates. And the recipients of the COVID payment to be eligible for other welfare supports such as rent loans. So, look, this is the first time ever that the arts and events industry has been through this. It's never happened in history, from my knowledge. So, we need to be there for them until mass gatherings can recommence, and I'll be elaborating on that again tomorrow. Very quickly, just with the minute I've left, over 66s, Minister. Every avenue they look down, every corner they turn around, they're facing walls, block walls. They've been excluded from the PUP. They can't apply for the Restart grant if they're not a ratepayer, so B&Bs would be a good example of that. They're excluded from the Enterprise grant because the €1,000 grant is only available for those coming off PUP. They could never avail of PUP. And as well as that, look, they may not necessarily apply for loans like this, so we need to make them eligible for the Restart grant. And in the final 20 seconds, look, Microfinance Ireland, I was talking to a local Leo company recently. Microfinance Ireland have been in touch to say that the money is gone. So that, I suppose, reiterates the importance of passing this legislation. They're telling the LEOs not to stop sending businesses to them at the moment until more funding comes. The interest rate, as I've already said, needs to be looked at. And finally, there's about a 60–70% approval rating from what I can gather. I would like to know, Minister, is there a way that we can increase that percentage and increase that approval rating? But thank you, Minister, and thanks for listening.